This is just Bob Bowman, and I'm coming at you with another video. In this video, I am going to hit a topic that's going to be tough for me to talk about because I am going to be transparent about my personal journey and my struggles. And it's a struggle that I'm still currently dealing with, that I'm working on overcoming. And it's something that's really prevalent in this society right now, when it needs to be talked about because it's becoming a major issue. It's becoming something that's dividing the families. And we talk about wanting families, we talk about getting the structure together, and like some people say, yeah, you can just go overseas and find somebody, but if you don't work on yourself honestly, and deal with the traumas and the issues and the negative behavioral patterns that you have currently, it's not going to really work. It's not going to help you. You're going to run into the same issues wherever you go. And what I'm talking about today, and this is a very serious subject of what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about today is men being in love with this 304 culture that we have out here. And we see the evidence of it, because there's a reason why women are allowing themselves to be sexualized and objectified as long as they receive a certain amount of money, or they only want to deal with the men that make the most money. It's not about character anymore. It's not about having values anymore. And the reason being is because we as men are not putting ourselves first and foremost, working on ourselves, and not just focused on money, even though it's important to have money. But the main thing is to focus on being the type of character that you need to be in order to develop into the father you need to be, into being the husband you need to be, into being a pillar of the community the way that you need to be. And I'm not saying that you have to be stuck within the so-called community. Even if you decide to go overseas, you still have to work on these basic things in order to be successful. There's no way around it. I've seen so many people have a lot of money, and because they didn't have their characters and their values together, they blew it. And once they blew it, they was back at square one. We seen it with somebody like Fetty Wap, and I'm not trying to throw people under the bus, but that's an example. You know, and you can look that up. You can look up the story of what happened to him. You know, and the reason why this is going on, because we don't have control of ourselves. We don't have discipline. I can have motivation all day, but if I'm not having the discipline to do what's needed to be done and actually doing it, it's pointless. It's pointless to be motivated. If I'm not willing to actually take the steps in order to correct my life, which needs correction, I'm correcting it now. Is it hard? Yes, it is. It's very hard. I have insecurities about myself that I'm dealing with. That's very hard to deal with. You see, I've seen somebody that's much younger than me spend $20K on OF. $20K on OF. That's ridiculous. And he's younger than me, spending $20K on OF. Why is this happening? Because we don't have control of our lusts. We don't have control over our carnal desires. We don't have control over not allowing the way that other people look at us to affect us. We allow our emotions to go all over the place. We have tough times and we don't know how to deal and cope with it. And we don't love the alone time that we have. And I know that I struggle with these things, so I'm talking about it. And myself personally, on Instagram, at one point I was following almost 1,000 IG models. Like women that I never had any type of interactions with, I never will have any interactions with. Even if I was to see them in public, they wouldn't even look at me to give me a chance because I'm not one of these big ballers out here. But I was following them, fawning over them whenever I had any little free time, and that's because I had an issue with my self-esteem, not feeling like I was good enough, not feeling like I could get a type of woman that was attractive enough because of what everybody else said about me and what everybody else did to me. You see what I'm saying? Like, I had to deal with that. I had to deal with those emotions and deal with the fact that I didn't want people questioning my sexuality. So I was like, hey, I'm straight. Look at this. I'm following all these women. Like, it was me sending out a signal of that without understanding. Like, all it was showing was that I had no control over myself and the way that I thought about myself. I didn't have the self-esteem that I needed. And yeah, I went overseas and I dated women, and there were some women that I actually wanted to be serious with, but then I saw that they treated me like a customer than a boyfriend. And the reason why they treated me like a customer than a boyfriend is because they're dealing with insecurities and things that's happened to them in their lives, and then they see me come along and they see that I may possibly have the same similar patterns that these other men have that have no control over their minds and their bodies and things that they do. And they're just like, well, if he's going to look at me like this, then I might as well just get as much as I can out of him until I can't anymore. And that's what's going on. And then I realized that I didn't want to be that old man. And you know which type of old man that I'm talking about. I'm talking about that old man that have a whole bunch of dirty movies stacked up high, or he has a whole bunch of videos on his phone, or he's a frequent visitor at the gentleman's club, or he goes to a lot of bachelor parties and do God knows what. And he may have a lady that he's with, but he don't really want to be with her, but he's with her because that's all he can get. And so in order to release that frustration of not being satisfied with his life, he does things like that in order to feel like a man. You know, we put such a high value on fulfilling our lust and our carnal flesh that we forget that being a man is more than that. Because I grew up in a neighborhood, I grew up in an environment where I was taught that that's how a man is supposed to be. He's supposed to be getting women left and right. And I had to learn my own way. I had to learn that it's okay being by myself. If people want to talk bad about you, talk down to you, say that, oh, you know, something is wrong with him, he's weird because he's not doing this, he's not doing that, you don't need to be around those people. Point blank. You don't need to be around a bunch of people that's followers. I was around a bunch of people that's followers, and now that I'm by myself and I have a clear idea and an understanding of what's going on, I don't have to live up to their expectations, because that's what they want us to do, is to live up to their expectations and not have any expectations of our own. You see, they want men out here that's not sexually disciplined, because when you're not sexually disciplined, you're easier to control. Then they can shame you into being with a woman that you don't find attractive because they looking at you like, oh, you just throwing it around anyway and nobody wants you. So you might as well just do this, be with this type of woman, shut up and deal with it. And when you fight back, you get ostracized. But that's just a power play. And if you don't understand power plays, you are going to fall victim to it. But you're not a victim because you put yourself in that situation because of the personal choices that you made. And yeah, this is tough to talk about because even now, while I'm making this video, I struggle with things. But I see where it is that I struggle at. And I'm instead of fleeing from it and trying to hide it and trying to keep it underneath, I'm making a choice to fight. I'm making a choice to make a better decision for myself. I'm making a choice not to allow my lust and my need to feel connected and feel the need to belong with groups of people to cloud my judgment. And if anybody don't like how I feel about things, they don't agree with where I stand at, I don't need to be around them, period. If a man want to question my sexuality because he don't see me with women and he thinks that, oh, this is the only way that you can become a man, I don't need to be around it. People like Tony Gaskins that talk about if you a certain age and you're single, I don't need to be around them. Because all that is judgments. And I'm not saying that, hey, you need to get married and you need to have families, because I've seen older men that learn balance that's not married. And what I mean by balance is that they take care of their health. They take care of their money. If they do dibble and dabbling with dating women or doing whatever with women tonight, they don't overconsume. You see, you at least have to do things with moderation if you're going to do bad stuff, even with alcohol. You become alcoholic because you have no control over drinking. And I was in danger of becoming one of those, because I realized that because of certain things that's happened to me in my life, and I'm not making this as an excuse, but I do have certain addictive patterns that I have. But I'm doing my best right now to break out of those addictive behaviors. You see, and we complain about women that's talking about you have to make this type of money or you have to do this and you got to do that. And we complain about the music that's out here and what it's promoting, but we are participating in it. And that's the main message that I want to put out there. If you don't like it, do not participate in it. But if you're participating in it, you have no right to say anything. And there's a lot of men out here, especially in the red pill community or whatever community that you want to talk, the manosphere, that's complaining about these things, but they are not really looking within themselves to see what role is it that I'm playing. Where am I going wrong? And I'm not saying this to put myself in a position of a moral compass. No, I'm not. I'm just saying that I'm looking at myself and I see that I need to change. And not just physically, but here in my mind. I have to change. I have to fight these negative thoughts, these demons that's within me. And I have to do the best that I can, because what if I make a lot of money? What if I become successful monetarily wise? If I don't have discipline within myself, I'm going to fall into the traps that I fell into before previously, and I have to continue this cycle over and over again. And I'm tired of repeating the same mistakes over and over again. So that means that I have to do better about what it is that I'm doing. I have to do better about my choices. I have to do my best to control my thoughts, even though that's hard. I have to change the way I look at things in life, because certain things I didn't think was a big deal, but now that I'm getting older, I understand that it is. And a lot of people won't agree with me, but I don't care anymore. You don't have to agree with me. I'm standing up for something, and I'm doing this for myself mainly. If somebody can see this message and they get something out of it, that's great. But those that have an issue with me trying to change myself for the better, you can have that. You can have that disagreement with me. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to change my point of view on how I look at this. Because I'm tired of being that guy who's being controlled by the way that other people think about me. And I'm tired of trying to mask it with things that's only destroying me, that's causing even more negativity to come my way and to become a part of my life. And those negative thoughts that's being thought about me are only going to grow stronger because I'm doing what it is that they think that I'm doing. You see, so we have to take personal accountability for ourselves. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm taking accountability. I'm not hiding it. I'm saying I'm going to fight this forward, face first. I'm fighting this. And I know that I'm still struggling, but I'm not going to give up. And with that being said, this is just Bob Bowman.